can probably still hear it. Not the general idea of the lie, the exact words, the exact tone, where you were standing when they said it, maybe even what they were wearing. Meanwhile, you can't remember what your best friend said to you last Tuesday, even though it was almost certainly true. That's not a coincidence. And it's not because the lie was more interesting. Your brain is running a very specific, very old piece of software every time someone deceives you. And once you see how it works, you'll understand why certain lies never actually leave you. Let's start with how common lying actually is, because most people underestimate it badly. Psychologist Bella DePaulo, who has spent decades studying deception at the University of California, Santa Barbara, ran a series of diary studies where participants recorded every lie they told over the course of a week. The results were striking. On average, people told about 1 to 2 lies per day, most of them small, most of them barely registered by either party. Passing compliments that weren't quite true, excuses that smoothed over an awkward moment. In DePaulo's data, most everyday lying wasn't malicious. It was social lubricant. Here's what's easy to miss in that finding. If lying is genuinely that frequent, then your brain isn't capable of flagging and permanently storing every single instance. It would be overwhelmed within days, which means your memory is doing something far more selective than simply recording dishonesty wherever it finds it. Something is deciding which lies deserve a permanent file and which ones get waved through without a second thought. So, if lying is that common, why does one particular lie told to you about something that actually mattered become permanently unforgettable? To answer that, you have to go back further than any modern relationship. Evolutionary psychologists Lita Cosmides and John Tooby, working out of UC Santa Barbara, proposed something now widely known as the cheater detection hypothesis. Their research suggested that the human brain evolved a specialized cognitive module, specifically for spotting violations of social contracts, not general logical reasoning. A dedicated system tuned specifically to answer one question: is this person breaking an agreement they made with me? Cosmides and Tooby demonstrated this using a clever set of logic puzzles. When the exact same abstract reasoning problem was framed as a social contract, something like, if you get this benefit, you must pay this cost, people solved it far more accurately than when the identical logical structure was framed in a neutral way, no social stakes attached. Your brain isn't just good at logic in general. It's specifically disproportionately good at catching people who might be cheating you. Think about why that would matter so much. In a small group where your survival depended on cooperation, food sharing alliance, mutual defense, a cheater wasn't a minor inconvenience. A cheater who took resources without reciprocating, who broke a promise at the wrong moment, could threaten your survival directly. Detecting that person and remembering exactly how they did it wasn't optional. It was one of the most valuable pieces of information your brain could hold on to. Now picture the moment it actually happens to you. Someone looks you directly in the eye and tells you something that isn't true. Maybe it's small, maybe it's not. In that instant, your brain isn't just processing the content of the sentence, it's cross-referencing something deeper. This person made an implicit agreement with me, the agreement that they deal with me honestly, and they just broke it. That cross-reference is what makes a lie feel different from an honest mistake, even when the practical outcome is identical. Someone giving you wrong directions because they were genuinely confused barely registers. Someone giving you wrong directions on purpose to make you late so they could take credit for something gets burned in. Same wrong directions. Completely different memory weight. The difference isn't the information. It's the violated contract underneath it. Psychologist Jennifer Freyd, who developed what's known as betrayal trauma theory at the University of Oregon, took this idea further. Freyd's research focused on how the closeness of the relationship changes the impact of the deception. A lie from a stranger is processed as simple information. A lie from someone you depended on, a partner, a close friend, a parent, gets processed as something closer to a threat to your entire support system. Freyd's work showed that betrayal by someone you trusted didn't just create ordinary negative memories. It created a specific heightened form of psychological injury, one your mind seems built to flag and hold on to longer than almost anything else. This is where the two mechanisms connect. The cheater detection module built by Cosmides and Tooby flags the violation itself, the broken rule. Freyd's betrayal research explains why the sting is so much sharper when the person breaking the rule was someone you'd built trust with. Together, they explain something you've probably felt, but never had language for. The exact same lie hurts more and sticks harder, depending entirely on who told it to you. Now, reconstruct a familiar scene using both mechanisms at once. A close friend tells you they can't make it to something important because they're sick. Weeks later, you find out they were actually out with other people that night. The information itself is almost trivial. They skipped an event. But your brain doesn't file it as trivial. It files it as evidence this person, someone inside your trust circle, was willing to deceive you directly to your face. Every detail around that discovery, where you were standing, what app you saw the photo, on the exact sinking feeling in your chest, gets encoded in vivid, permanent detail because your ancient cheetah detection system just got a confirmed hit. Here's the counterintuitive twist most people never hear. That obsessive replaying you do afterward, turning the lie over and over, questioning what else might have been fabricated, isn't a sign that you're paranoid or that you're not over it the way you should be by now. It's your brain doing exactly the job it evolved to do, building the most complete possible profile of an unreliable source, so you never have to be caught off guard by that same person again. The discomfort isn't a malfunction. It's the system working at full intensity. Once you see this clearly, it reframes a lot of situations that used to feel confusing. Think about why a single lie from a partner can undo years of accumulated trust almost instantly, while it takes months or years of consistent honesty to rebuild that same trust back to where it was. That asymmetry isn't unfair bookkeeping. It's your cheater detection system treating the violation as far more diagnostic of true character than the ordinary honest days that came before it. Think about why you can recall the specific sentence a coworker used to cover for a mistake they made at your expense word for word years later, while you can't remember a single ordinary conversation from that same week. Think about how quickly, after being lied to once by someone, you start scanning their future statements for inconsistencies, even small ones, even ones that don't matter. None of that is you being difficult or overly suspicious. It's the same mechanism that once protected your ancestors from cheaters who could quietly drain a small group's resources without ever getting caught. The mechanism hasn't changed. It's just now running in a world of unread text messages, vague excuses, and social media alibis instead of shared hunting grounds. Think about how differently you treat two coworkers who both miss a deadline. One tells you honestly up front that they underestimated the work. The other tells you the file was corrupted, a story that quietly falls apart a week later. The missed deadline itself cost you the same amount of time either way, but only one of those two people lives rent-free in your memory for the next 6 months, replayed every time their name comes up in conversation. Your brain isn't tracking the deadline. It's tracking which of those two people is safe to make agreements with again. Knowing this doesn't make the memory disappear, and it shouldn't. A cheater detection system that forgot every violation wouldn't be protecting you at all. But knowing what's actually happening changes how you carry it. The next time an old lie resurfaces uninvited in sharp detail, you can recognize it for what it is: your mind correctly flagging a broken agreement, doing precisely the job it was built to do, long after the person who broke it may have moved on entirely. You started this video wondering why you can still hear the exact words of a lie someone told you. Now you know it was never about the words themselves. It was your brain running an ancient, highly specific audit built to protect you from exactly the kind of person who'd say those words in the first place.